Here we are again on the series Secrets of a Meta-Hermeneutical Master. The last time we talked about the quantum physics observer effect and creating your own reality. And I had some emails and they want me to re-mention that and go a little deeper with it, to review the bubble diagram. I had email about the Pope's speech when he was in Germany mentioning Islam and the reaction to it. And the killings in this past week, there were three, I guess you call them major killings in high schools, or not just high schools, but in the schools. And what else? The other question was on, I'll think about it, and I'll integrate what I'm talking about in the talk here. So, we're going to talk about the Pope, and well, let's review a little bit first about the quantum physics observer effect. And when I do these short reviews, there are other places free on the internet, and I expect you to get the full, more detailed explanation there. We talked about the bubble diagram. Do y'all know what I mean when I go like that? And I'll have to review that a little bit. But the quantum physics observer effect states that you bring a possibility into reality by observing it. And I take it a little bit further and say that we bring possibilities into our reality according to the level of consciousness that we observe it at. In other words, if you're looking at the world through red glasses, everything is red. And if you're angry and fearful and you're bringing more anger and fear into the world. So now we got to review that and go into the bubble diagram. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit here, and so you can see my hands a little bit better. And the bubble diagram, what I said is that everything that arises in your mind is like a bubble arising from the bottom of the ocean. So if the floor here was the bottom of the ocean, the bubble starts out real small, and as it rises, it gets bigger, 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 bigger. And at the surface of the ocean, where it bursts and goes bloop, that's our level of consciousness. Well, way up here, the bubble is big, and we're very far away from the source of our power then, really. Source, origin, essence, presence. And how that happens is, remember I mentioned this, is when we don't recover from stress and trauma. Well, stress and trauma, something's not right in our environment, and it starts out when we're infants. So there's something not right in the environment, and I call that a tear in the fabric of our being. And if we could experience that tear fully, it would heal. But when we're infants or very young people, we don't have what it takes to fully experience that tear in the fabric of our being. So it can't heal because we just can't deal with it. So because we're hardwired for survival, the mind makes up something to fill that gap. But it's still a gap. You know, it's just something that's made up, and what's made up is made up. It's an illusion. It's separation. So a lot of these separations, a lot of these unresolved traumas over the year, and these different gaps make more gaps and more gaps. So that's sort of how the bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and over the years, that's how we get sort of habituated into not experiencing what is happening in the moment. Because if we did, there would really be no separation, or maybe very small separation. But because of all the unresolved trauma, we accumulate, and the bubble is real big, and we're very far away. So where the bubble is big, it's got us. We're weak because we're far away from the source of our real power, and it is experiencing us. So what we're learning here in these sessions, one of the things that we're learning here is how to deepen our level of consciousness so we experience life where the bubble is smaller. And where the bubble is smaller, more awareness in clarity, we experience it, and it doesn't experience us, whereas up in the big bubble it's got us, and down here at the deeper levels where we experience it, we're experiencing it, and it doesn't control us anymore. So that's like being in jail, and even bigger, then it's our executioner maybe, but now we're learning how to deepen our level of consciousness, and then then that same thing that up there is our jailkeeper or even our executioner, down at the deeper levels where we can experience that bubble real small, these things that arise in our mind are our teachers. And I also talked about the triune brain, because what happens when we don't recover, when there's something that comes in through our senses, some tear, some stress, the message goes to the amygdala first and then to the neocortex. But it's the job of the amygdala to send messages out to the rest of the brain, and therefore the whole body, to go into the stress response. Now the amygdala is our two little almond-shaped parts of the limbic system right in here, and there are many functions to the amygdala that are very good. But now we're just talking about those functions that store negative energy, are related to negative memories then, because it clicks off other memories, and it puts us into that fight or flight response, which is located back here in the reptilian brain. And you know how reptiles act when they're threatened, they strike out, and so on and so forth. So when we operate out of the reptilian brain, we're striking out, acting out, and there are many good functions to the reptilian brain too. I'm just talking about unrecovered trauma and how we recover from it right now. So then above that we have the mammalian brain, the later developed, that mammals have. You know, and mammals are mostly pack animals. You know, like a herd of horses, a herd of dogs, you know, a herd of sheep, a herd of deer, and the antelope play and stuff like that. And there are the leaders of the pack, so to speak. And we see this mammalian brain reflected in society through in religions as heads of the religions or gurus, popes, masters, and anyway, I'm going quickly. I'm just setting up the framework so we can have end the session with a deeper understanding. And so the mammalian brain then is, we look toward the head of the pack or the leader, usually a dominant male that we follow. And at a certain area of our development, we need that. But now, when we continue to develop spiritually and become more in tune with our spiritual nature, we can go on to what I call the new spirituality, is where we do it for ourselves. And but we have to go through these stages, and it's like being born out of a womb. When you're born out of the womb, we don't turn around and kick mommy in the teeth necessarily. So it's like that with our religions. Even if we go beyond the superficial aspects of religions, there's a deeper spiritual aspect to them where we ourselves become the spiritual master of our own destiny. And that relates to the quantum physics observer effect, because when we get to that level of the new spirituality, we create our reality around us from a very deep level of consciousness, and then we're not bringing more anger, fear, and things of that nature into the world, but we bring more love, kindness, compassion, and the deeper spiritual attributes that all the religions talk about. And then I want to bring in one more element of and tie that in. There was a question, email question, if I could explain, well, what is alchemy? And I am a bringer of Meta-Hermeneutical alchemy, a teacher of Meta-Hermeneutical alchemy, and so that's what I'll be speaking about. And what that is learning how to work with energy beyond thought and concept, beyond the limited, conditioned mind, or the separate mind, the made up of from all those tears. We can all learn how to do that, and that's where the healing takes place, beyond thought, beyond concept, beyond the limited, conditioned mind, and we become whole again. In that wholeness, that's what the word healing means, becoming whole, and the word therapy means healing. So somatic meditation therapy that I've developed and that I teach is what you're going to be learning how to do by yourself. So everything I'm saying here is educational, and I'm trying to get across to you in a very simple way some very profound and deep things. And I'm coming across very simple in my looks and in my speech, so anybody can understand it that tries a little bit to understand it. Now, the whole world is like a globe, and over here in this part of the globe, people have a certain language, they eat certain foods, they have a certain religion, and these people over here have different foods, different religion, different clothes, different customs, and so on around the world. But when we go deeper, then there are things like culture and art and that are not so much on the surface, because that culture and these deeper aspects become more similar the deeper we go. And then we have religions, and then we go deeper into spirituality. And so what Meta-Hermeneutical alchemy is learning how to work with energy at that depth where there are no differences. So all the great masters and all the great spiritual teachers in that sense have been alchemists, because they have gone beyond the separation, have gone beyond the differences of religion, and operate out of that level where there are no differences, or the state of unity, that non-dual state. So, but if you look at the world today and what's going on in the world, I mean, you turn on the news and it's just all this violence and murder, and it seems to be getting worse. And how many people are being killed here, and these people are killing these people there, and the shootings here, and there's a lot that we don't even hear about in the news that's going on, and it's very sad. So why that is because of unresolved trauma, stress and trauma over the years that we have not recovered from. We're up in the big bubble, and when we're up in the big bubble, that quantum physics observer effect, we're observing through the lenses of fear, so we see fear and anger, so we're creating and seeing anger all around us, or evil for that matter. So what we need to do is to learn how to deepen our level of consciousness, and because at deeper levels of consciousness, we create for ourselves that corresponding reality. And that corresponding reality at the deeper levels is what is the essence of spiritual attributes that all the religions teach at their depth. You know, love, kindness, compassion. But a real important thing is forgiveness. And so we have to learn how to forgive. It's forgiving. If we're attached to something up in the big bubble and viewing things through anger, that's not forgiveness. We're bringing more anger and fear if we're up in the big bubble. So we go deeper, and then we're going to be talking a lot about forgiveness because it's so important. So at these deeper levels, you're not controlled or attached to that big bubble, and you can let it go by experiencing it. And that's part of the process of forgiveness. It's forgiving. You let go. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean that you condone the actions by far. But what it does mean is that how we create our reality at these deeper levels, and what we bring more into the world then, one of the first parts of that process to recovering from this and deepening our level of consciousness is the process of forgiveness. And you just learn how to do it by experiencing that bubble at the deeper levels and not way up here, because when you experience things up there, you're creating more anger, fear, guilt, blah, 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 blah. And down here, you're bringing into the world, not creating necessarily, but experiencing more of those deeper attributes. And that is very important. And I'm going to keep these a little bit short here. I think the next time we're going to talk about the Meta-Hermeneutical martial arts, because, okay, if you're up in the big bubble, you have to retaliate. The big bubble would correspond to the reptilian brain, where all you can do is strike out because you're creating more fear and anger. And yes, that's how you create more fear and anger, but it's all you know how to do. It's all you can do. But at the deeper levels, there's a principle that I teach, that I say, what you defend against, you make real. And I will be explaining that. In Christianity, there's a saying, resist not evil. Those things mean much the same thing. So we talked about the triune brain, and when we do the eye movements and breath meditation that I've taught other places on the internet before now, you do the eye movements and the breath, and that's the start, because of the start of recovering, the start of deepening your level of consciousness, because the main instruction with that is to really be there in the moment with what you're doing. And when you're in the moment with what you're doing, you're in the now. You're not... when you're being experienced by things, you're sort of in the past, you know. And but when you're right there in the moment with awareness, you're experiencing things as they happen in the moment, or at least more and more so. So again, the eye movements and the breath, with the eyes closed, and totally being there in the moment. With the inhalation, we move our eyes to those 8 different directions. We release the eyes and the breath, and we push the breath out, and we ground and center that energy. So by moving our eyes with the breath to these 8 different directions, we're accessing, we're energizing, we're opening up energy centers and receptor and effector sites, and we're grounding and centering that energy. So we go to the next direction, and we're bringing more energy, and it's a cumulative, it builds. And as it builds, you're more aware. That's what it builds. It builds grounding and centering, and you deepen your level of consciousness, and your awareness is more there, and you become stronger. And then when these other things arise in the mind, you experience them, as opposed to up in the big bubble, these things experiencing you. And so more and more you access the whole brain, and you energize and ground and center that energy. So the eye movements in the breath, even that first part of it, the 8 directions, there are 2 other sets of eye movements and breath to that. Actually, there are more, but just in this first sequence of teaching, there are 3 different eye movements and breath meditations that we do, and that's the start. So I recommend that you go and review some of my other material that's free online on youtube.com or Google Video, and maybe some other places, certainly on my site that you can get to. So you go to Google or YouTube or the iTunes Music Store, and you search KTVP. I put it up there as all caps, so I don't know if you have to have it all caps. KTVP will get you to my material. And thank you very much. And I'm going to be talking next time about secrets more, because when you deepen your level of consciousness and you're creating your reality at that deeper level, and you're not seeing through the goggles of anger and fear, you're learning a deeper language that's at the subtle realms of thought. And the only reason why secrets are secrets is because you don't know the language. Like if I started speaking some foreign language that you didn't know, right now you wouldn't understand me, and you'd think it was a secret. So we're going to be learning this deeper language of learning how to operate, how to use energy beyond thought and concept for healing and for our spiritual growth. So thank you very much, and I'm going to be talking about the olfactory meditation pretty soon too. That's down the line, but I want to mention to it. So I want to thank you very much, and then my end is, what is it? As I came, so I go.